Dating a female empath is like holding a mirror to your soul. It is a beautiful, transformative experience, but it is rarely an easy one. Most men go through life claiming they want a partner who is genuinely kind, deeply compassionate, and emotionally present. They think they want someone who gets them on a deeper level. However, the reality of being with a woman who feels everything is a massive shock to the system. When a man finally encounters this level of emotional depth, his first instinct is often to pull away. It is a strange and painful irony. The very traits that make these women the most incredible, loyal partners on the planet are the exact same qualities that leave most men feeling completely overwhelmed, exposed, and unprepared for the journey. The struggle usually starts because a female empath operates on a totally different frequency than the average person. She doesn't just see you. She feels your energy, your moods, and your unspoken thoughts. For a man who is used to keeping things surface level or hiding behind a tough exterior, this can feel like he's being stripped bare. He realizes very quickly that he can't hide his insecurities or his bad days from her. And that level of exposure is terrifying. Instead of leaning into the connection, many men retreat because they haven't done the internal work required to handle a partner who is so intensely tuned in to the truth of who they are. 1. Unfiltered honesty. A female empath simply does not have the capacity for small talk or polite white lies. She is hardwired for the truth at a cellular level, and she expects that same transparency in return. In a world where most people sugarcoat their feelings to avoid conflict, she is a breath of fresh air. But that air can feel very cold to a man who isn't ready for it. If there is even the slightest rift in the relationship, or if she senses a shift in his energy, she will address it immediately. She doesn't believe in letting things fester or playing mind games. To her, addressing an issue isn't about starting a fight. It's a necessary act of love designed to clear the air and build an even stronger, more authentic bond. However, this directness is where the friction begins. Because she speaks the truth so plainly, many men perceive her honesty as a direct attack on their ego. They aren't used to a woman who can see through their excuses or call them out on their inconsistencies with such precision. Instead of seeing her as a teammate who wants to fix a problem, they view her as being self-righteous, critical, or too much to handle. They mistake her desire for a genuine, deep connection, for a desire to control or judge them. What they fail to realize is that she isn't trying to hurt their pride. She is trying to save the relationship from the shadows of dishonesty. For the female empath, a relationship without total transparency is just a hollow shell, and she would rather be alone than live. 2. Radical intensity. When a female empath decides to love you, she doesn't just dip her toes in the water. She dives into the deepest part of the ocean. She literally does not have a halfway button. For her, love is an all-consuming, high-definition experience that involves her entire being. She will shower her partner with a level of affection that is almost unheard of in modern dating. We're talking about constant, unwavering support, thoughtful surprises that show she's been paying attention to your smallest needs, and a loyalty that is rock solid. To her, this is just how love is supposed to look. It's generous, it's vibrant, and it's total. She gives her heart completely because she believes that if a connection is worth having, it's worth giving everything to. However, this radical intensity often creates a massive culture shock for the average man. Most men are conditioned by modern dating to be guarded, distant, and to keep their feelings tucked away to avoid looking weak. When they encounter a woman who is this emotionally expressive and devoted, they don't always see it as a gift. They often see it as a threat. That deep level of devotion can start to feel choking or even obsessive to someone who isn't used to being truly seen and prioritized. He might mistake her emotional depth for desperation or overzealousness. Because he doesn't have the internal tools or the emotional capacity to match her high frequency, he starts to panic. He begins to crave breathing room and pulls away, not realizing that he is running away from the most authentic love he will likely ever encounter. He views her intensity as a burden, when in reality, it is simply the byproduct of a heart that refuses to love in small, safe portions. 3. The need to know. The female empath possesses a unique, highly tuned intuition that acts like a second set of eyes. She doesn't just hear the words coming out of your mouth. She reads the vibration of your energy and the subtle shifts in your body language. She can tell when your "I'm fine" actually means you're hurting, and she can sense a lie before you've even finished telling it. Because she is so perceptive that she naturally has a lot of questions. She isn't satisfied with surface-level answers or vague explanations. She wants to understand the why and the how behind every situation. She wants to know the history of your thoughts and the reasons for your actions. Because to her, every detail is a piece of the puzzle that helps her understand who you truly are. To a man who prefers to keep things chill or strictly surface level, this constant curiosity feels like a direct interrogation. He might feel like he's constantly being put under a microscope, or that he can't have a simple conversation without it turning into a deep dive session. He gets frustrated and bored with the excessive questions, wanting to just get straight to the point and move on. What he fails to grasp is that her questioning isn't a tactic to annoy him or control him. It's a search for safety. Because she gives her trust so fully, she needs to be absolutely sure that the ground she is standing on is firm. She asks questions to build a foundation of security. She is trying to find a safe, transparent place to put her heart. And she can't do that if there are shadows or unanswered questions looming in the background. For her, understanding you isn't a chore. It's the only way she knows how to truly connect. 4. Zero tolerance for games. For a female empath, the commitment is never a casual maybe or a let's see where this goes experiment. The moment she decides to choose you, she is all in, and she expects that same level of intentionality in return. She doesn't have the time or the interest to play the exhausting games of modern dating, like waiting 3 days to text back or acting indifferent to keep someone interested. To her, love is sacred. And once she has committed her heart to you, she is naturally exclusive and already looking toward a future together. She begins to weave you into her life goals, her plans, and her vision for what's next. This isn't because she's rushed, but because her emotions are so deep that she doesn't know how to love someone without wanting to build a world with them. This immediate level of seriousness is exactly what sends many men running for the hills. Most guys enter relationships with a testing the waters mindset, keeping one foot out the door just in case something better comes along or things get too difficult. When they meet a woman who is ready for a real exclusive future from day one, they don't see it as a compliment. They see it as a trap. They feel like they are being tied down or pressured before they are ready to settle. What they fail to realize is that her desire for commitment isn't about taking away their freedom. It's about offering them a level of loyalty and security that most people spend their whole lives searching for. They mistake her rare, rock-solid devotion for a cage, missing out on the fact that she is the only person who would actually stand by them when everyone else walks away. 5. Relentless persistence. A female empath is a natural-born fighter when it comes to the people she loves. She doesn't walk away just because things get hard or because the spark feels a little dim. Instead, she will pour every ounce of her soul into making a relationship work, often long after it has reached its breaking point. She has this incredible, almost supernatural ability to see the hidden potential in her partner, and she will fight for that version of you even when you aren't fighting for yourself. She believes in the power of love to heal wounds and fix broken connections. So she stays, she tries, and she gives second, third, and fourth chances. She will endure the emotional storms and the long nights of silence because she truly believes that if she just gives enough of herself, the relationship can be saved. Unfortunately, this relentless persistence can be one of her most dangerous traits because it often backfires in the eyes of a partner who doesn't value her. When a man sees a woman constantly trying, constantly forgiving, and constantly fighting to stay, he may stop seeing her as a valuable prize and start seeing her as disposable or desperate. He begins to take her presence for granted, thinking she will never leave, no matter how he treats her. This creates a heartbreaking cycle where the empath stays in toxic or one-sided situations for far too long. She stays because she is convinced that her love is the medicine that can fix the unfixable. Failing to see that some people don't want to be fixed. Her greatest strength, her refusal to give up, becomes her greatest weakness when she spends all her energy trying to revive a connection that was meant to stay dead. 6. the fierce independence. Even though a female empath is deeply connected to her emotions, do not mistake her sensitivity for weakness. These women are some of the most fiercely independent individuals you will ever meet. Because they spend their lives feeling the weight of everyone else's energy, they have been forced to become incredibly self-reliant just to survive. They have spent years mastering the art of processing their own feelings and navigating the world without needing someone to hold their hand. They take pride in the fact that they can handle their own business. And they go out of their way to ensure they are never a burden to the people they love. They aren't looking for a man to save them or complete them. They are looking for a partner to walk beside them. This independence often creates a massive power struggle in a relationship, especially with men who feel a psychological need to be in total control. Many men enter relationships expecting to be the sole provider or the manager of their partner's life. They want to feel like they are the ones calling the shots and that their partner is dependent on them for stability. But when a man realizes he cannot own or manage a female empath's world, he often begins to feel redundant because she doesn't constantly need his permission or his help to function. He feels like his role as the hero has been taken away. Instead of being impressed by her strength, he feels intimidated by it. He mistakes her self-sufficiency for a lack of intimacy and eventually loses interest because he would rather have a partner he can control than an equal he has to respect. The fixer mentality. One of the most defining traits of an empath is the ability to see through the surface and identify the untapped potential in everyone they meet. When a female empath looks at her partner, she doesn't just see who you are today. She sees the incredible man you could become if you just cleared away your bad habits or healed your old wounds. Because she loves you so deeply that she naturally wants to help you reach that higher version of yourself. This is where her fixer mentality kicks in. She will start nudging you to improve your diet, fix your sleep schedule, advance your career, or finally deal with that emotional baggage you've been carrying for years. To her, this is the ultimate act of love. She is investing her energy into your growth because she believes in you. However, from a man's perspective, this can feel incredibly draining and intrusive. Most men don't want to come home to a partner who is constantly pointing out their flaws or pushing them to change, even if the intentions are pure. They don't want to be a project that needs to be completed. They want to feel accepted exactly as they are in the moment. When she starts acting like a life coach or a second mother, reminding him to eat better or work harder, it creates an immediate wall of resentment. He begins to feel like he can't just be himself without being judged or corrected. Even though her heart is in the right place, her drive to fix things can become a massive turnoff. A man wants to feel like he is enough on his own, and when he feels like his partner is constantly trying to upgrade him, he often pulls away in search of someone who will just let him stay exactly where he is. 8. The high emotional guard, The final reason men struggle with a female empath is perhaps the most misunderstood. Her incredibly high emotional guard. You have to understand that an empath lives with her nerve endings exposed to the world. She feels the highs and lows of life with 10 times the intensity of the average person, because she has experienced how devastating it feels to be broken. And because she knows that her heart doesn't just bruise, but shatters into a million pieces, she has developed a sophisticated defense system. She is acutely aware of her own vulnerability. And she knows that falling for the wrong person isn't just a minor setback. It's an emotional catastrophe that could take her years to recover from. As a result, she doesn't just let anyone in. She watches. She waits and she keeps her most sacred parts tucked away behind a wall of caution that can be very difficult to scale. To a man who is trying to get to know her, this guard can be incredibly confusing and even off-putting. At the beginning of a relationship, she might come across as distant, detached, or even weirdly emotionless. He might expect her to be warm and bubbly right away, but instead he meets a woman who is observant and somewhat reserved. He sees the wall, but he doesn't see the fire burning behind it. So he assumes she isn't interested or that she's cold. He might label her as hard to read and decide that it's too much work to try and figure her out. He mistakes her silence for a lack of personality, not realizing that her silence is actually a high-level security check. She is scanning his energy, testing his consistency, and seeing if he is a safe harbor for her intense emotions before she risks opening the gate even an inch. The tragedy of this situation is that most men lack the patience required to earn an empath's true trust. They want instant intimacy and immediate results. But you cannot rush an empath into vulnerability. If a man isn't willing to put in the time and show a consistent character, he will never get past those initial layers. He will walk away thinking she was just uninterested or strange, never realizing that he was standing on the doorstep of a treasure chest. Behind that guard is a woman who will love him with a depth and a loyalty that is almost superhuman. If he had just stayed a little longer, shown a bit more patience, and proven his intentions were pure, he would have witnessed the incredible transformation of that distant woman into the most vibrant, loving partner he's ever known. But because he wanted the reward without the work, he loses out on the rarest connection a man can find. Ultimately, being with a female empath is a high-stakes journey that demands a level of emotional maturity most men simply aren't used to providing. It is a relationship that will challenge your ego, strip away your masks, and force you to grow in ways you never expected. While the intensity and the honesty can feel overwhelming at first, they are the very things that create a bond far deeper than any surface-level romance. She isn't looking for a man who is perfect. She is looking for a man who is brave enough to be real. If you can handle the mirror she holds up to your soul, you won't just find a partner. You'll find a once-in-a-lifetime connection that changes the way you see the